And we're live, so it would appear. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Office Hours. Today, we're going to be covering blueprints. We're really excited to be showing you some stuff that you may know, and then hopefully some stuff that you may not know. And then, of course, afterwards, we will be putting it out to questions from all of you. So first of all, quick introductions. Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm the operations manager for ServerPress. And that's all that's really important.
Yeah. I'm Greg, and I'm with ServerPress, as everyone knows, and I do support most of the time.
All right, so quick bit of housekeeping, chat guidelines as always. Please be civil and respectful. Remember, there are human beings behind the keyboard and cameras. Be helpful if you can. In other words, feel free to pitch in and join in the community. This is a community, just like WordPress is all about the community. ServerPress really believes in that mission, and so we're all about the community too. So feel free to pitch in and help. If things get out of hand where there are conversations that are disrespectful, Greg and I will reserve the right to boot someone from chat if the rules aren't followed. So other than that, feel free to interact, and we're really, really happy to have you here. A little bit of ServerPress news. We are in the final stages of putting Desktop Server version 3.9.2 out.
Yay!
Yay! Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. In fact, the demo that you're going to be watching today is actually going to be Greg showing you everything on 3.9.2. The updates that are happening with 3.9.2 is that we have a new clean import update, which will remove log files to improve importing. So things from, let's say you're using iTheme security or something like that. A lot of those plugins will create these huge log files, and Clean Import will actually take care of that for you so that it helps with a more successful import. It's going to support Duplicator Pro's new archive format, which is really great. And then we have some performance enhancements to debug and trace, as well as a link created on the local host page to start debug and trace. We're going to have some minor performance tweaks. And we're also introducing must-use plugins into Desktop Server. So there are a few plugins that you will not be able to turn off because they are an absolute necessity. And we are introducing that tag in 3.9.2. And then the one really cool feature that a lot of you will probably like, especially if you develop a lot of sites, is we are introducing multiple delete. So you can delete several sites at the same time. So when you want to delete a bunch, you don't have to do it one at a time anymore. And before we get into the blueprints demo, Greg is going to do a demo of how that works. So I'm going to turn it over to Greg and let him present.
Okay. So let's see. Mark, can you see the screen?
Not yet. I still see your smiling face. Hold on.
Okay, let me see if I did something wrong.
Let's see.
I see what I did wrong. Give me just a moment. How about now?
I can see your screen.
Okay. So in Desktop Server, one of the things that we had before, of course, is the remove feature. If we hit next, we have our list of sites. And usually, if you're anything like me, I have like 60 sites in here. And before, you would have to be able to select only one, and you would hit remove and then hit remove. And it would delete all of the files and the database and the entry in the preferences file and the entry in the host file. But now, because you can hold down either Control or Command, you can come in here and do multiple deletes. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm just going to delete these 3. It's going to ask you, are you sure? And say yes. And it's going to go ahead and delete those for us. That's it. And so now if we go back to remove, you'll see there's only the one site. So we can confirm that also by looking here that we only have the one site. I hope everybody's excited as I am about that. That just makes it really easy to get rid of a bunch of sites when you're like cleaning up.
And
So
Greg always use for you to only see that he has 4 sites there. That is very unusual for Greg. He usually has like 100 sites. So I think he's probably the most excited of any of our customers on this feature. That would be
probably
my bet
true.
anyway. Um, so that's the news with ServerPress. And now we're going to get into the blueprint demo. And so Greg is going to take it away. He's going to show you the basics of exporting and creating a blueprint. And then he's going to show you a feature that a lot of people don't even know exists, which is a dynamic blueprint. So stick around and watch this, and hopefully you'll be as excited about blueprints as we always have been since practically day one of using Desktop Server. So take it away, Greg.
So I guess the first thing we should mention about Blueprints is a premium feature, so it's going to come in the premium version of Desktop Server to be able to use the Blueprint capabilities. And the first thing I want to point out is if you go into on a PC, it's going to be an XAMPP Lite, and you'll see Blueprints. On a Mac, if you go into the Finder and go to XAMPP, you'll see a folder called Blueprints. And when you install Desktop Server, it installs 2 blueprints to get you started, usually the blank, and then whatever the current version of WordPress is. Right now, our version 3.9.2 is going to be released with 4.9.8 in it. The blank one goes ahead and allows you to create a site, but it doesn't install WordPress. So it could be quite useful for if you're learning PHP or you're wanting to import something like, another type of CMS like Concrete or any of those kinds of things. You can use that blank to do that. So and the other thing I want to point out is you can upgrade this WordPress. So if this WordPress version gets old, so let's say WordPress 5.0 comes out, you can go ahead and drop in that new version just by going to WordPress.org and then downloading. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to WordPress.org. And then just go get the WordPress, download it, and then save it to that folder right here. And the next time you start up Desktop Server, you're going to see that other version available to you. Okay, so let's go ahead now and get into a regular blueprint. So we have 2 types of blueprints. We kind of have a regular blueprint, and then we have a dynamic blueprint. The regular blueprint you can make by taking an existing site and exporting it. So let's create a new site just to get started here. And we'll just call it test 100. And what, again, the blueprints can do for you is that when you start a project, it can start with the way you want things set up, the way you want WordPress set up. So for example, you might have a certain plugin that you love, a set of plugins that you love, a certain theme that you always like to start with. You might like to set with a certain user already in place, the post, the permalinks already set. You might delete certain things, like every WordPress installation that you start up always comes with a sample page and a certain post and a comment. You might delete all of those and just basically starting the project the way you want to right off the bat. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to actually go ahead and create a regular blueprint, and then we'll talk about the dynamic. So we're just going to call this test and test, test. If you're using the premium version, one of the most favorite tools is the bypass login. You don't have to type in the username and password. You just can click on the name of the user and it logs you right in without having to type any of that in. So let's go ahead and change this to make it into a blueprint that we want to use. Let's add a theme. So we'll just say add new. And we'll just go let's grab a new one here. Let's grab store. And let's activate it. And let's add a plugin. And we'll go ahead and add image widget. Activate. And as I mentioned, let's go down and set our permalinks, because by default they're set as plain. Most of the time we want post name. So we'll go ahead and save that. And that's pretty good. So we'll say at this point that this is exactly the way you want to start your project every time. And so now what we do is go back to Desktop Server. And we're going to go ahead and export this, just like you were going to deploy it to a site. But at this point, we're going to just export it. We're going to pick that test100.dev. We're going to export it as a web archive, as a zip. We can totally skip the database information because we're not deploying the site. And then here, you can go ahead and give this a name. So one of the things you could create as a blueprint is you might create, if you're someone who likes to build, that is building for someone, you could build a WooCommerce site or an e-commerce site. And it might have WooCommerce installed. It might have a shop installed for the theme. Or you might also create another one called Community, and that might have BBPress installed in it. Things like that. You can essentially build as many blueprints as you want and make them as customized as you want. We're just going to call this one Blueprint Test. And now here's the important part, is where do we want to store this? Remember, we want to store this in our Blueprints folder. So we're going to click on the Browse button. And on a PC, we're going to go to the C, Examplite, and Blueprints. And we're going to save this right here, save that. And then we're going to say Next. And it's going to go ahead and create that as a zip file into our folder. It should show up right here in a moment. As I mentioned, on a Mac, it's going to be in Examp Blueprints. Actually, Applications, Examp Blueprints. Mark, is there any questions regarding blueprints at this
Well,
point?
yeah. So Motion Point asks, what are the advantages of using blueprints instead of creating a copy of an example starter site or existing starter site? And so I had responded that you can have your plugins and themes pre-configured. So more specifically, they're asking, are you not able to do that by making a copy? So using the copy command.
You know, Steve told me a good answer to this, and I don't remember what it is. There's advantages to both. But off the top of my head, I don't remember. So we're gonna have to get back to them on that.
I think that one of the things that I would say is that when you're making a copy, it's actually copying a bunch of individual files. So it might take a little longer to make a copy, whereas with a blueprint, it's using it from a zip file, and so it's not copying those very small WordPress individual files. So that would be one advantage of using a blueprint over, say, doing a copy of it. Richard said, "This is big. I waste a lot of time on every new site with all that pre-housekeeping." So,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
the whole point, Richard, is to save a
yeah.
bunch of time.
I mean, most people don't want to start with, the default post. Most people don't want, the page, the
Right,
sample page and the
right.
comment. So we all have to go in and kind of get rid of all of that.
Hmm.
But yeah, you can do all that, set it up, and so you don't have to do that. So I've now come back and I'm going to create a new developments website. And I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to call this one Test 102. And you can see now in my drop-down list, I now have my blueprint test. So we'll go ahead and create that from now. Now I need to make sure that I change my site root because I don't want my site to end up in the blueprints folder. And this site root always remembers whatever you did last. So we're going to browse back to Documents websites, which is where by default Desktop Server keeps the files. And let's hit create.
And see, if you're looking right now, you can see how quickly it did that. If it were actually to do a copy, I would venture to guess it would probably take a minute longer to do that. Um, Especially on Windows systems, that copying, the way that the file system works on Windows systems, copying those individual files actually uh, can be quite a bottleneck for systems.
So you can see the theme is all activated and in place. If we come look at the plugins, we'll see that our image widget is here and activated. So we have now we're right where we want to be with this particular blueprint. So that's how easy it is to make a blueprint.
And if you have plugins that require license numbers and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you can put all that information in there as well, so that every time you
Absolutely.
don't have to continually put in a license number every single time. A good example is like if you have a developer's license for like Backup Buddy or something like that, right? You can
Yes.
you can use that. So.
Absolutely. And I also want to point out, you can come in here, Desktop Server will use a blueprint, whether it is zipped up or unzipped. So you could come in and unzip this blueprint. And if you wanted to, maybe the blueprint was almost everything that you wanted, but you did want to put in a couple other new plugins, you could drop those plugins in and use the blueprint with those new plugins. Now, they would not be activated. You would have to create a new blueprint to go ahead and make them activated again. But it would be a way that if you wanted to just quickly drop in something in the blueprint, you can definitely unzip this and Desktop Server will still see it and still use it. It doesn't care whether it's zipped or not. That's why you'll notice the blank is actually an unzipped folder and the blueprint is not. Okay, so now I want to jump into dynamic blueprints, which is, to me, probably the most exciting part. So dynamic blueprints are blueprints that use, Desktop Server has a plugin called DSCLI. And DSCLI contains a bunch of different things in it. And one of the things it contains is WPCLI. And WPCLI is WordPress command line interface. And it sounds scary, but it's not. It's actually very simple and very easy to use. And I'm going to actually show you really easily how you can create a dynamic blueprint. And to do that, you do have to make sure that this box is checked. So make sure that you've got this checked, restart the web and database services so that DSCLI is activated. So let's go back. And then the next thing we want to do is I'm going to grab a couple of dynamic blueprints that we've created for you that you can go grab yourself and use and work with and try out. And you can do that by going up to github.com/serverpress. And if you go there and scroll down, the one we're going to start with is one of the easiest ones, and that is WordPress latest blueprint. So I'm going to click on that. And over here to the right, you'll see something that says clone or download this button. And we're going to download this zip. Okay, so now I'm going to go to where this downloaded, which was in my downloads folder. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put it into my blueprints folder with our other blueprints. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and open this up because I do want to show this to you, what's inside it. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and actually get rid of the zip. So let's open this up. So all blueprints come with a wp-config sample file, a README, an index.html, and the blueprint.php. This is the important one to you. So open this one up in your text editor, like Notepad++ or Coda, anything that you want, and you will see a list of commands that are getting issued. And how this works is at the very top, you'll see where we have an open for PHP. And then this here is a comment. Whenever you see a /*, you'll then see after that a comment and then a close. So this is just basically what we're telling this plugin is. And we try to comment this example. We always try to comment our lines all the way down so that you guys know exactly what they're doing. So the first thing this is going to do is it's going to fetch the latest version of WordPress. And you'll see a command here is DSCLI execute, which is our command to make it do the WPCLI command. So right here inside these quotes is the WP CLI command. And let me show you how you can learn about those. So I'm going to open up another window, and we're going to go WP CLI, and this is going to take us to wpcli.org. So you can come right here, click on commands, and it's going to show you the different commands that are available to you. And the first one we're going to look at right now is WP Core. And if you
And
come in, it'll actually show you examples. So like WP Core download, if you wanted to have it have a certain language. Mark, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say the documentation on WPCLI site is really fantastic. So you can find out pretty much anything that you want to know there with
I
regards to
love
the
that they give
CLI.
you really good, they give you
Yeah,
really great
yeah,
examples.
yeah,
So all those examples.
yeah.
So if we come back and look at mine, all that it's doing is saying WP Core download, which is going to fetch us WordPress. Why is this? Why do we call this dynamic? Why do we think this is so exciting? Because you don't even have to have the latest blueprint for WordPress in the blueprint folder. It's going to go get the latest. So it's going to get the very latest WordPress always when you're using this particular blueprint. Next down on line 13, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say it should be noted that you will need an internet connection for this, obviously.
Yes, you
Yeah.
will. Yes,
Whereas
yes.
the other blueprints that are not dynamic, those don't require an internet connection in order to create your local site.
Correct. So if you're on a plane and you're
Yep.
working on a site, you
Yeah.
can use the standard blueprints, but you probably would not be able to use the dynamic blueprints because you wouldn't be out on an internet connection unless the plane happens to offer Wi-Fi. We know
And
how good that
we
Wi-Fi
all know
is.
how well that works. Yeah.
Yeah. The next line down, line 13, once again, we're doing a DSCLI executable. You don't have to worry about what that really is doing. It's just executing our WP command. And we're doing a WP Core install. So now it's going to go ahead and take what you downloaded and install it. And then there's some commands that we're issuing where it's getting the site name right out of Desktop Server. So that's why you'll see that $site name. That's coming from Desktop Server. And you're going to see that happen when I run this dynamic build. And you can give it a title. And I'm just naming it Dynamic Blueprint, but of course you can name it anything that you'd like. The admin user, you could come in and change it from test admin to whatever you'd like. And then the admin password, instead of password, change it to what you'd like it to start with. And then also the email that gets set up in WordPress, you can set that up to be whatever you'd like. And you can see we're gluing on the site name there at the end. Next, you'll see that I'm doing an update on Akismet because so many times the latest version of WordPress that you install may not have the latest version of Akismet. So what this does automatically for you is go get and update Akismet. Underneath that, I'm changing the tagline. That's that little line in WordPress up at the top that says tagline. You can change that so that it doesn't say, I believe it says another WordPress website or something like that. You can then change this to anything you want. I'm just having it say the site's tagline. I'm changing the permalink to post name. I'm also discouraging the search engines by going in and checking the box for the option of blog public to on, which basically is turning off search engine access. The last part of this is it does a little cleanup. When this site is being created, it creates a folder and it starts putting all the files in there. One of the things it puts in is it puts in the blueprint.php file in that folder. This gets cleaned up at the end. It gets removed because you don't need that in there at all. And it also helps, and I'm going to explain what I mean by it helps. Desktop Server, when it's running this script, it will show that it's done, but it may not be done yet. The script could still be running. And the way to tell is to see if this blueprint gets removed. So now that I've explained this, let's go do it. Let's take action and see what that all looks like. So I'm going to come in and create a new development website. I need to restart the services because we added that new blueprint. Restart. And let's create, there it is, WordPress latest blueprint. And we'll just name this latest. And I'm going to go ahead and open up my folder because I do want you to see this. So let's go to Documents, Websites. And we're just going to bring this down here. And we'll say Create. So if we come over here, latest should now be here. There it is. So this is what it's going to look like at first when it first copies the files in. There's that blueprint.php file I was telling you about. You'll notice it says done over here already, but it's not done. It's still going to populate this. At least there we go. You can see it dropping things in. But our blueprint PHP file is still here. So we know right now that this is not yet done. It's still working away. There, it's gone. So now if we hit next and we click on latest, there we go. There's our site. And if we were to, let's go take a look at it. See how test admin was created as the administrator. We can go look into our settings and look at the permalinks. Already set for post name. What else did we do? Let's see if we look at general. The site's tagline, dynamic blueprint are both there. You can see please update latest dev.cc, which all came from the script. So that's how that all worked. Let's go ahead and do one more now. I'm going to go ahead and grab the dynamic blueprint. So this one has lots and lots of commands in it that you could comment out or copy into your own blueprint and use it exactly the way you want to use it. It's a great template or example for you to use. Okay, so we'll go folder, copy. Mark, is there any questions regarding the last?
Well, right now, people seem to be having issues with the resolution of the screen. Now, looking at it on the Hangout, I have two screens going. It's very clear on that. But if I look at the YouTube side, it's a little bit unclear. If I go full screen, I can see it a little bit better. But it's mostly anything that has like grayish text that it's hard to read for me. So I can see I do see what people are saying.
I guess we'll have to work on that for the next show. We'll see what we can do to improve that.
And so they're asking questions like Renee is asking a question about the actual code, but I'll be posting links to the actual blueprint so they can see the code, and maybe that will help a little bit because then they can download the blueprint and look at the code. One of the things that I wanted to say with the blueprint was what Greg just showed you was a very basic dynamic blueprint, but he's actually created some that like will automatically download, for instance, the latest version of WP Site Sync automatically and things like that. So with WP CLI as your tool, you can use a lot of those CLI commands within the dynamic blueprint to actually create the blueprint you want with the latest updates of all the plugins and themes and software that you need.
Yeah, in fact, if I go back to GitHub, you will also find we have a Gutenberg blueprint, which will fetch the newest Gutenberg. So if you were wanting to play with Gutenberg, this is a great blueprint to do that for you. It'll just go get the latest version, drop it in. It has a bunch of other things it'll do for you, but that's what the Gutenberg plugin does. And there is a WooCommerce right there, a WooCommerce plugin here that will download the latest version of WooCommerce and grab, I believe it's Shop theme for you. And it also even sets up, it makes sure that all of the check marks in the WooCommerce settings page are all green. So everything gets put in. Like I believe there's a geodat file. It goes and fetches and puts in for geo information and all this kind of stuff. So it's really cool. Definitely, if you get a chance, download these blueprints and at least look at them and see what you think what they do. If you have questions about specific commands in them, just hit us up in support. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding those. Okay, so I downloaded the dynamic blueprint and I put it in here, and then I extracted it the same way I did with the latest, just so that you guys can see it. Again, you could leave it zipped up if you wanted to, or you unzipped, either way. We're going to open up the blueprint one again. And right at the top, you can see we're going to do the same thing in the beginning. We're going to grab WordPress core and download it. We're going to install it. We're going to give it its site name, its title, its administrator user, the password, and the email address, all right away. We're going to change the tagline. We're going to change the permalinks. We're going to do the options. Then we went a step further. We wanted to show you how you could go out and grab plugins. So if it's up on the repository, on WordPress's repository, you just need the name of the folder that that particular plugin creates when you unzip it. So in the case of the image widget, it creates a folder called image-widget. So you can come in and put WP plugin install image widget, and it's going to go grab this off the repository and download it into your project, in this case, in your site. Then the next line down, we activate it. And there's actually a command that you could make this into a single command. You wouldn't necessarily have to make it a double command like this. It's just a way we wanted to show you how you could install and activate clearly. But if we went and looked at, let's go look at WP plugin over here on, let's come back to WP CLI. And there we go, W plugin. Do they have it? Right there's the example. So here it is. You can see WP plugin install, and then this one in the case they're using BBPress. And then if you put -- activate at the end of it, that will do it for you all in one line. You don't actually have to do the 2 lines like this here. The next example we give is we wanted to show you how you could grab from GitHub a theme. And if you go up and find a theme, you can actually go up and grab, let me show you that too. Fruitful, I think, is what we want. So if we go to GitHub and we go to search, let's try that again. There we go. So if we go in here and we click on clone, it's going to provide you with this link. And that link is what you would put into right here. So if we're going to clone a theme or a plugin from GitHub, that's how easy it would be to go grab. You would just simply grab the clone and say git clone, put that in there, and then it's going to drop it where you want it to be. In this case, this is a theme, so we want it in our WP Content Themes Fruitful folder. And then we're activating it. Same example below that, except this time we're doing a plugin. So you could see, if you wanted to, you could just copy these out and create your own blueprint. We also show how to do a private. If it's your own GitHub, maybe you've written your own plugin, your own theme, and you wanted to grab that, you can do that also by using this example where we're doing a username and password. So you would replace where it says username and then there's colon, and then the password, you'd replace that with your username and password for the Git account and be able to access a private Git repo.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
This is an interesting question, and I admit I have no answer for it, so hopefully you do. Is it possible to take an existing non-dynamic blueprint dynamic? So let's say you already have a blueprint that you've already created, but then you want to make it dynamic. Is it possible to do that?
I mean, you could go in and write the rules. The script like we're doing here in this example to make it dynamic, but you couldn't take the current blueprint and make it into dynamic. Okay. It doesn't have the commands in it. So
right.
Yeah. the next thing I wanted to, this line here, I wanted to show how you can install a plugin from on your computer. So this command, I'm going to have to look into this. I actually think this is not going to work for Windows. These commands are being passed to a Mac. So I will probably rewrite this dynamic blueprint up on GitHub and actually add another command for doing it for a Windows machine. But I wanted to show an example of how you could actually go fetch a plugin, because you may have bought a premium plugin like Beaver Builder and downloaded it somewhere on your computer or a Dropbox or something like that, and you want to be able to access that to create in your project. So that example's in here for that. We also show an example of how to create a child theme, where it takes and creates the, like in this case, a Beaver Builder, and then when it creates the child theme, it then activates the child theme over the parent. Coming on down the list, the next thing is to remove. We wanted to show some examples of doing some cleanup. And so most people don't need 2015 or 2016. I do leave 2017, and I do that because it's great for doing testing. In some cases, if you've installed a theme and maybe that theme is causing conflicts with another theme or another plugin, a way to verify or to test against that would be to switch to a default theme. So I always leave 2017 on my projects because I can switch to 2017 to see if it's the theme that's causing the problem. So in this case, we're just removing 2015 and 2016. And so those would be removed in there. And then I'm also removing a few plugins. In some cases, we almost never need Hello Dolly, right? So we remove Hello. And then if you don't need a Kismet, you can delete that. And then we're doing a post and page. I had mentioned to you before, almost no one wants Hello World or sample page anymore. Here's the commands. You could copy this in and be able to use those. And then I wanted to show how you could make a new page for a home page or a blog page where it creates these for you. They won't have any content in them, but it would create them and publish them. So this is what that looks like. You would just WP post create, post, and then the type, whether it be a page, and then home and news in this case, and publish. And then I showed how to go ahead and tell the options table to make those pages the blog page and the home page. So that's there. Coming on down a little bit more is to delete the comment, the one comment that comes with WordPress. So it's a simple WP comment, delete one. And then we delete some of the sidebar widgets. There's a bunch of widgets that come with WordPress, and a lot of the widgets you may not need. So you can remove those. You can see the ones that we're removing right there. I think I still left calendar and something else in there that I think we left in place. But you could add that in here and remove those. We do a time zone. So if you wanted to set your time zone so that your clock, your calendar shows the correct times, or your blogs show the correct times, you could go ahead and do that. And you can actually even create a menu and assign menu pages or posts to the menu. And coming on down, I know there's a lot here, and I'm just kind of running over this really quickly, but I want you to feel free to go grab it, download it, and just look through it. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. For advanced users who are using Git, you can actually initialize Git on the project from within the blueprint. And you can go as far as you add a user and a token, and you can actually establish the Git repository. You can actually submit you can add the files to it. You can go ahead and do the initial commit. All those kinds of things, all automatically, right through the file. So at the very end, you'll see that we're doing the cleanup again. We're removing the blueprint. So let's run through this. I'm going to go ahead and run the script so you can see this happen. But take your time, look through this. If you see something that doesn't make sense to you, let us know. If there's something that you think you'd like to see added to this, I'd be happy to do that. If you think there's some other creative ideas on other things that could be done, please let me know. We'd be very excited. We think blueprints have a ton of potential. They can do a lot of things for somebody, all with just, you create it once and then run it.
And something else I would add is we would encourage you to write your own dynamic blueprints and share them with us. And you know, if you think that is something that other people would be interested in, feel free to share them with us, and we'll even give you, you know, credit and everything. And we have, you know, a pretty good sized mailing list, so it could help you as well. So that's what the whole community idea is about. So feel free, once you get your feet wet with the whole dynamic blueprint thing and you feel like building your own, for some of you who might be a little bit more daring or advanced, feel free to do it.
So we're going to come back over here and we're going to watch the file.
Are there any questions at all so far?
Dynamic, create. So there's the file.
Any plans on Amazon S3 integration for dynamic blueprints?
As far as fetching something from S3, I don't see a reason it couldn't do it now. It's a good question. I'll have to try that. I haven't tried that.
There you go. In your spare time.
Yeah, I'll poke at that. That's kind of an interesting idea.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, people store, I mean, S3 is perfect for storing things, so I'm sure lots of people would store things up on S3. So.
Yeah.
So right now you can see it's still building. We still have our blueprint here. Let's go poke around. Let's take a look and see. Right now we can actually tell that it still hasn't gotten to the step of deleting out some of the themes yet. We'll kind of watch this folder for a minute. Oh, I just created the child theme. There they go. They're gone.
Yeah.
So let's come back up to WP content. Let's see if plugins, image widget's already there. So is WP SiteSync. And we still have the blueprint there, so it's not quite done yet. Done. And we knew it was done because it created the Git init right there. So it created your Git repo has been set up for the local now. So if we go take a look at this, that's fine because the page we have is not set. But if we go into WP admin, again. So if we go look appearance, we should only see the fruitful theme and the 2017. The other themes are gone. We do see a BB child, which is what we expect. We look at tools. Let's see, not tools, sorry, settings. We should dynamics there, sites there, please updates there. There should be no pages except for the home and the news. Privacy is brand new, so that's been left in there, but there's no sample. Sample's gone. We go look at posts. Posts are empty. We should have no comments. Nope, no comments. So it did everything we expected it to do and did it very quickly for us, set up the site just the way we want to go ahead and start working on the site now.
Awesome.
I think that is it, unless anybody has any questions.
Steve Jones, my dad had a student named Steve Jones. I doubt it's the same person, but if you grab the PHP script for the S3 connection and included it in the blueprint file, no reason why you could not use S3, is what he says.
I will try that. If you get a chance, try it too.
Yeah. And so anyway, it looks like there aren't really a lot of questions. You were pretty thorough with that demo. So, and
thanks.
Yeah, I think I even learned something. So I'll forget it tomorrow, but I learned it today. So that's awesome. If there aren't any other questions about this, if anyone has any other questions that aren't related to this, you can feel free to ask those as well. And if not, we can wrap things up in just a couple of minutes. And I guess, let's see, I cannot purchase your software from your website. I've been trying for a few weeks. Well, I'm not quite sure why that's a problem. Can you shoot us an email and we'll see if we can work through it? Just send us an email at support@serverpress.com. And I know that there was a problem a few weeks ago with there was a bug in the software that we use to process orders, but that was very kind of edge case scenarios. So, um, hmm, he
I'll
said,
be
okay,
curious. I'll be curious to see what he gets. We'll have to check it out.
okay, okay. Greg, he says he sent a few requests through our contact form too.
Hmm.
Hmm. All right.
The
So
mystery gets deeper.
the mystery gets deeper. I'm gonna have to look into that. Yeah, it requires logging in to buy and registration is not available. Hmm.
That's old. Yeah, that's what was happening to us
Yeah.
before. It should not.
Yeah.
You should not have that issue now. That issue was resolved by Easy Digital Downloads, which is the one we're using.
Yeah.
Um,
Because that was the problem we were running into,
that
right?
was. Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah. So, what country are you in? Are you in the US? Uh, he's gonna try right now, I think.
Okay,
Colorado, USA. Okay. So it really should work.
it should work.
Um, you're welcome. I hope your name is pronounced Dada, and you're welcome H3R3BOX. So what is that? Herebox? You're welcome. Thank you for joining us, all of you. We really appreciate that you guys all spend uh, time with us and let us show you some of the stuff that we might take for granted, but we also find really exciting. I would say the thing that we're most excited about is 392 coming out. So that will be out very shortly. We are getting through the tail end of the beta testing on it, so we're feeling pretty confident in it. Sean Adams asks, as a feature request, is there any way we could have a plugin that exports a static HTML version of the site you have developed and possibly FTP it to the server?
I'll submit. I'll submit that as a feature request.
Um, Clement, what I would recommend, or it might be Clement, I'm not sure which the accent is on, but we actually do send notifications out a day in advance and then about a half an hour in advance. And the other thing I would say is if you subscribe to our channel, and here's the shameless plug, please feel free to subscribe to our channel and then you'll get announcements there as well. And then also when this goes live, which is almost always immediately after the broadcast, it will go live. You'll also be notified of the link of the broadcast so you can go back and revisit it. In answer, the new version, I think the feature that we're most excited about is the multiple delete feature. There are also a few like clean import. There's a new clean import plugin update. We've been using clean import for a while, but there's an update that allows for better importing of certain types of files, and also it deals with log files better for things that have large log files. But the multiple delete to me is a feature that I know Greg and I have been wanting for a while, and we've heard from many of our customers as well. So okay, so FlexTech Media still says no joy on trying to buy. So I'm wondering, Flex Tech. I don't know your name, so I'll just call you Flex. Um, Error, you must be logged in to purchase a subscription. Um, is there any way that we can call you? I'm trying to think if there's a way that we can call you. Rather than using the contact form, just shoot us an email, a direct email, support at serverpress.com, or you can go onto Twitter and send us a message, a DM, and maybe give us your phone number, and maybe Greg can call you and work through it, and see if we can figure out what's going on, because that shouldn't be happening. And it, if it's happening to you, then of course, it's very possible it's happening to others. I doubt that you're like the one person in the whole world that can't buy our software. So if you could do that, we would greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate your time and letting us know, because obviously we can't stay in business if we don't get sales. So that's how it works. um, so can I use blueprints for Mambo? That is from Adam over at Kitchen Sink WordPress.
Adam's
Um,
just being funny.
yeah, Adam, as far as you being able to do the Mambo, there is nothing that can help you with that.
However, he has brought up something that I was going to tell you that you and I talked about, Mark, and that is we've actually messed around. We were at a WordCamp in LA last year. We actually made a blueprint that would create a Joomla site.
Yeah,
And I have
yeah,
messed around with a couple others. I think I've done a Drupal. I think I
yeah,
even did Concrete 5. So it is possible to make a blueprint do
yeah,
these kinds of things. I
yeah,
don't know that we support it though.
yeah. Think Delaney says, I want you to stay in business. Well, we are on the very exact same page there. But yeah, I'm very curious about this problem. So I appreciate you reaching out to us, Flex. Um, any other questions? I have a great idea. Everyone watching right now, go and try to buy our software and let us know how it works. Feel free, go ahead and buy our software. Okay, well, I think with that, thank you very much for joining us again. And we will be back next week, and we will announce what that show is going to be about. I think we are probably going to cover some stuff with WP Site Sync next week as well. So we knew that this was going to be a mostly desktop server presentation, because Blueprints is so robust, and it's so capable of doing so many things that we knew it was going to take up the majority of the presentation. So thank you very much, everyone. And with
Thanks.
that, thank you, Greg, for doing a fantastic presentation, and we will see you all next week.
Bye.